I'm here with eUnited support, PolarBearMike, PBM. He's a support player and kind of a troll. I don't know if you guys know that about him, but he likes to troll a little bit. Mike, you've got some pretty big games coming up this week. First of all, CLG. How are you feeling going into this matchup? Because you guys are coming off your first win of the summer split so far, and CLG has struggled a little bit. What do you think this matchup's going to be like?
Not quite sure. I still think CLG is a talented team, despite their rough early start. I think that, obviously from experience last split, we know that going through a rough start doesn't necessarily indicate that a team is bad. They could just be, having issues or whatever. So I still expect it to be like a competitive match, but also we did 4-0 them last split, so I'd still like to keep that going. And I do expect to win, but I don't think it'll be that easy.
Let's bring it back real quick to your matchup against Luminosity. That was a pretty close matchup, went all 3 games. Is Luminosity getting that much better, or do you feel like you just haven't hit your peak performance yet?
With no disrespect to Luminosity, I kind of feel the latter is more the case. I think that we've been trying to figure some stuff out with, I guess, just like healers being viable and a bunch of other stuff going on in the meta and how we want to play and just kind of shifting our style to more of like a mid to late game approach, I think. And I think many teams are going through that same transition. So I think we're just kind of figuring stuff out, and we just, dropped a game that we probably shouldn't have.
That's kind of a good point about adjusting to what you think is going to be good and how other teams are going to adjust. And I feel like that might put you in a weird position against CLG because, as you mentioned, they're kind of underperforming right now. Do you right now like prepare for how they're playing at the moment, or do you prepare for how you think they could play in their set against you?
A little bit of both. I mean, you more prepare for the past evidence of what you've seen, and then you kind of just have to be a good enough team to kind of react to their adjustments in the moment. But at the same time, you do have, past evidence and history through either our games in the spring split or, scrims or whatever else of how they like to play against us and like what they might prioritize. So just like a little bit of both, but mainly just going off of what they played versus, I think it was Trifecta, then SSG.
All right, Mike, thanks very much for joining us, and good luck against CLG.
Thanks, dog.
Thanks, dog.
Welcome back to the SPL. Finch and Aggro here. We got to hear from PolarBearMike a little bit. Looking good in the interview there, Ryan, by the way.
Thanks, Todd.
And glad that you got a chance to sit down and talk with him. It's always so interesting to hear from these players, especially someone like PolarBearMike, who's such a good mind for the game and how they go into their matches, how do they prepare, and how do they respond to the meta.
Yeah, I really do. I mean, I know I asked it during the interview, but I really thought that his point on CLG, they haven't performed up to what they expect or what even eUnited expects them to do so far, and how you prepare for what they've done versus what you expect them to do versus what they can do. There's a lot of things and variables you have to really be ready for.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at where all our teams are currently sitting, since we just got to hear from PolarBearMike. In the standings, got North America and Europe here. Energy just got through getting a big win over team rival in Europe, but in North America, we're about to be taking a look at eUnited versus CLG. CLG been struggling so far to get started, and eUnited very much would like to get that second win and try and get up near the top of the standings.
Yeah, -3 on the standings so far for CLG overall. So haven't found the victories that they really need to in these sets, obviously sitting at 0-2. This is a critical set for them. Maybe they're trying to do the opposite of what they did in Spring Split. Remember, they got off to a great start.
Right,
they were undefeated. And then eUnited, who started out with winless and really struggling overall, ended up roaring back and taking their land spot from them. So maybe they're trying it out the other way.
And you heard PolarBearMike talking a little bit about it. I mean, CLG, they don't always play exactly what everyone else is playing. So you got to do some preparing just for what's in the meta, but you got to make sure that you're going off the past evidence of what it is that the CLG squad likes to do and make sure you're prepping for it. And a lot of that prep work has to go around Hurriwind. I feel as if Hurriwind has maybe not been himself this split. I mean, I'm not inside the man's head, but last split, I mean, Hurriwind was up there with the top mid laners in the world, I feel like, for CLG, even when they weren't doing well. But so far, I mean, CLG have got a little bit of work to do.
I think everyone on CLG can look at their play and say, I've got to step it up a little bit. I think the guy that's impressed me the most overall consistently has been fineokay. I thought he's looked very good during his time. But we can expect more out of Homie. We can expect more out of Hurry and Jigz and Snoopy as well. And I think that we will get that from them. I'm still very high on this team overall, despite how little we've seen from them specifically in the summer split, but towards the back end of the spring split as well. This is a team that can compete for top 2. There's no doubt in my mind. They just haven't shown it yet.
And that's why I can say comfortably that I kind of expecting more from Hurriwind, because my expectations for him are very high.
Sure.
He's an excellent player, so I mean, I expect him to sort of be at that level all the time, but it's hard to be that way consistently, and this is a squad that I know can recover for sure and get it done. It's not going to be an easy task to make that recovery here up against eUnited. I know you said you've been impressed by fineokay's play, but I mean, up against eUnited, it's a tall task. I mean, everyone on this squad so strong individually. They play so well as a team, and it always feels like they're maybe just like a step ahead in the meta.
It does feel that way. They know what they want to pick. They think they know what you're going to pick, and they play around it very well. I think that the way to play around eUnited right now is just kind of exploit how over-aggressive they can be at times. And it's not everyone. I'm mostly looking at guys like PandaCat, like Venenu, like Screammmmm.
Yeah.
They like to go in, and they like to try and force stuff that maybe they shouldn't be forcing all the time. And I think that's where you're trying to play against eUnited overall right now. And that's where the picks like the Mercury and the Thor for Homie and the Janus for Hurriwind, the Apollo even at times, that global presence, you can find those guys, outnumber them, and try and force them into bad spots. And if I'm playing against eUnited, that's probably what I'm looking for here on CLG.
Well, let's see if that is what is going to be the plan here from eUnited, or rather from CLG, to try and catch out eUnited if they get over-aggressive. We are ready for picks and bans between former world champs and CLG. A lot of the old SOAR members on this squad who were once up there at the top of North America themselves, too. So certainly a lot of talent on these two squads. I'm very excited to see how they're going to play it out. And right away, a Serket ban comes out. They do not want to see Homie on this god.
No, and who could blame them? I mean, we just saw Adapting having a phenomenal performance on this god over in Europe. Serket still does everything that Serket wants to do very well, which is CCU, apply true damage, get percent power, or take a percent of your health with her passive. She gets prot tread on the one. She does a lot of stuff very well, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, you forgot to say, and then get away, because she also does that
don't
very,
forget about
very
that.
well.
Yeah.
She then leaves as if she had never been there, taking your life and escaping, as Athena also banned away by eUnited. Another pick that we've seen kind of rise in prominence. I'm a little bit surprised being first pick they didn't prioritize this one, but they didn't want to give over too much themselves over to CLG, who banned away the Xbalanque and the Terra. Does mean Guan Yu is available.
Guan Yu and Achilles both up right now, and instead eUnited go for the Thoth, and CLG picked Jing very, very early here.
Yes.
I mean, Snoopy has looked pretty good on this god overall, but Snoopy's a very versatile hunter in every sense of the word. He'll play stuff outside of the hunter class a lot of the time. I don't know how much I love this Jing Wei pick this early from CLG, but Guan Yu is fine by me, and so is the Thoth on the other side from eUnited. I like it.
Chang'e going to come in for eUnited, so that's very likely Benji's pick, especially with the Thoth already locked in. And they still have the option to go with the Achilles if they want to try and just put that into the jungle, but instead, going to prioritize the Kumbhakarna here.
Kumba makes sense. He interrupts that Telu Assault very well. Now this kind of prevents CLG from taking Guan Yu away from a bad matchup. Now you're kind of forcing him into the jungle if he doesn't want to deal with Kumba or with Chang'e very often. But honestly, that Chang'e could be in the jungle. That could be for Scream.
Oh, that's true.
But I think it is likely in the solo lane because remember, eUnited and Space Station scrim a lot against one another, scrim partners, and we've seen Aquarius pull it out quite a bit so far here in the summer split. So if Space Station thinks it's good, chances are eUnited thinks it's good as well.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. We have seen Aquarius look excellent on that Chang'e. He's looked excellent on everything this whole season, to be fair. But Aquarius not here. Instead, we're going to be looking at fineokay going up against Benji. So want to make sure we're giving those two plenty of credit. Odin ban, I like this from eUnited. Certainly can cause problems, not just for the Chang'e, but really their whole draft at this point. No one has an easy way out of that cage. So just get that guy off the table.
Now, Fenrir and Naja make me think that CLG thinks that Chang'e is guaranteed in the solo lane.
Right.
Surprised that CLG goes for another healing god when Chang'e is already locked in for eUnited. And that's because Chang'e, a healer herself, but that third ability automatically applies 50% anti-heal. You add in a Divine Ruin, which you know Chang'e should get in a matchup like this, that is 90% anti-heal. That's a lot. You're only healing for 10% of what you thought you were going to be healing for. It surprises me to see a Sylvanus pick here.
Susano comes in along with the Medusa for eUnited, and I love this pick. Susano, I feel like, is one of those gods that's very good at punishing immobile characters, not unlike this Sylvanus. He could potentially cause problems for this, as I imagine we are going to be seeing Jigz playing that Sylvanus. Erlang Shen is going to round their draft out, so between the Guan Yu and the Erlang Shen, one of those going to be going into the jungle.
I imagine it'll be Erlang Shen, taking a page out of Splice's books. I know seen a lot of success with that Erlang Shen
he has
in the jungle, but that's another god that doesn't really want to see Chang'e at all, because if Erlang Shen's ultimate, if you get 90% anti-healed, that is a bad ultimate now. It is usually very powerful. You get damage mitigation, a
Without
taunt
that,
on
it's just an ability.
and then a massive heal. Now, exactly, you just get an ability that doesn't really even stack up to Athena taunt. I like Erlang Shen as a jungler. I think he's criminally underpicked. I would not have picked him here.
At this point, that is what CLG are going to be riding with. Now, seeing both these comps, sounds like you're kind of leaning towards eUnited just over this Chang'e.
Yeah, I think the Chang'e is the difference here. A little worried about the lack of control for eUnited, but Susano does bring some of that out of the jungle. I think he's a great selection alongside the Kumbhakarna, who brings so much control in his own right.
Well, let's see if it is going to be eUnited who take it, or if CLG can get their composition with all the sustain to work for them. Casters are standing by.
TNT, it's Tom and Toli. This game definitely about to be dynamite. Really excited to see the Chang'e, one of my favorite characters in Smite. Should be really fun to watch her do her thing. But Kumbhakarna, also the Lockdown King, making himself known.
As good as Chang'e and Kumbhakarna are in their own rights, you got to look at the Thoth for eUnited. That first pick potential for Venenu is what led them to win that first game against Space Station Gaming last week. Immediately after that, Space Station made those adaptations, taking it away from them, let Baskin just run wild. I think we're going to see the Venenu train this game.
Well, it certainly could be. The conductor is putting on the hat. But let us know if you think you're going to agree with Toli and that eUnited are going to come out clean, or if CLG will be saying CLGG. The Erlang Shed of the Jungle, sure, I think I have some of the same qualms with it that Ryan does as well. And I love the way he said that. Erlang Shed of the Jungle, sure, like it. Here, not so much.
We're about to find out, because it has a lot of early aggression. As long as you get into that mink form, you have that Fatalis effect to be able to chase people down. I like the identity that CLG is going to try to get for itself, because a lot of teams are always doing the same thing. So the fact that CLG is doing this is refreshing, but the way they started off week 1, not too hot. They're currently 0-2. Is this still the time to experiment for them? I don't know.
Well, let's go ahead and get in game. Game number 1 on the way for CLG versus eUnited. Homiefe will be on that jungle Erlang Shen. And we'll see fineokay on the Guan. That certainly is a fine point to notice, as the Fonz has been really strong in that short lane. And I think he's at the point in his career where you can give him literally anything, and he will impress a lot of people.
It's not going to be the easiest matchup in the world against a Chang'e that has the rabbit to prevent you from ever really going back to base. Starting off with the Health Chalice and Warrior's Blessing. Not traditionally known for mages, but in the solo lane, more than common. So he should have a good time in matching the clear and the sustain from fineokay, and then some.
Now, the last time we saw the solo Chang'e come out, it was against an Aphrodite. And so the build was power-oriented, not necessarily all super tank. Now going up against the Guan, I do expect to see a little bit more tank concerns. Maybe some Breastplates of Valor. How you feeling?
Definitely Breastplate of Valor, trying to get that physical protection. Warrior's Blessing was a necessity against the damage over time that the Talu Assault provides, especially with all the basic attacks that Homiefe is going to be providing if he does ever show his face in the solo lane. So covering both options from the solo and the jungle side.
Like the portal there, Homiefe going to confirm that, it looks like. And now from the other side comes Hurriwind. What a play. I really enjoyed that.
The stun is so good. Oh, not in range, though. Only level 2. He didn't have the wall to extend the range.
Yeah, I really like that play from CLG. Just kind of pulling the okie doke on eUnited, but eUnited returned the favor. And as you said, Venenu making the first strike.
Doing a lot of work thus far. The counter rotations, fans at home definitely favoring the world defending champions. Off to a pretty decent start after their week 1 performance, almost beating Space Station in a 1-2 best of 3, and then defeating Luminosity 2-1.
Snoopy in some trouble, gonna get rooted. There's the sprint. Only one more shot needs to go, but the beautiful, beautiful root from Jigz gonna keep PBM in his tracks. We haven't mentioned much about this Medusa, Toli. I have really enjoyed the ability-based hunters in Season 5. I think the itemization is perfect for them, or almost near perfect. But unfortunately, for people that like the ability-based hunters like me, we've seen these late-game hunters really succeed. The Shibis, the Artemises, even the Jingweis, right? Medusa, certainly a mid-game monster, What allows eUnited to step away from the late game hunter and step into this ability-based hunter?
It's still going to be a basic attack hunter with a Viper shots. Like, it's still a lot of burst damage. You don't necessarily need the 60 to 70% attack speed steroid from your Artemises, also from your ROMs, or even like heavily banner on the Hachiman. You're still getting a quick 3 to 4 burst shots on the Viper shot just to find those tanky targets. You get a little bit of penetration, and all of a sudden your ability-based hunter that was doing work in the early to mid game is still melting those tanky targets when it comes late off of that one ability.
So it's less about moving away from late game hunters and more about the fact that Medusa could just also be one of those hunters with the Viper shot.
And not only that, it's, yes, the setup is important for her. If she doesn't have the setup, it becomes a little more difficult. PBM, piloting that Kumbhakarna, is going to be doing a lot of work in terms of being able to set up not only for PandaCat, but also on top for the mid laner Venenu that's been so successful with this pick. And you set up for the Petrify, turn some targets into stone that doesn't have the purification beads. I'm looking at Jigz in particular. Sylvanuses are usually struggling in terms of getting focus fired, and that could be eUnited's strategy.
Now, we just got a glimpse at what PolarBearMike is leveling, and it's kind of interesting. Because normally, I think most supports, most people that play Kumbha, will go ahead and level the throwback, right, for the wave clear. And then occasionally, we see the Mighty Yawn be leveled up to combat high attack speed characters. But here, we see the Groggy Strike right in the middle, and we'll talk about that in a moment. As Benji trying to fight into this.
The tower shot.
fineokay, and one shot's good enough. Benji goes ahead, snatches the reversal, and takes down the Guan Yu for first blood.
The bait into the counter bait. Both of them were sitting on their meditation for so long until the tail end of that. And fineokay dashes through Benji, but accidentally lands in his tier 1 tower line. Just enough damage to find the lethal shot. First blood going to eUnited's Benji on the Chang'e that's now probably working on that Warlock staff.
Yeah, the Warlock staff, one of my favorite items on these solo lane mages. Happy to see Benji going into it. PolarBearMike rooted, pulled underneath the tower. Big boy damage coming his way, but PandaCat steps up, will intercept a lot of the nonsense. And so while we see PolarBearMike return to base, let's return to our conversation about him. What's your take on the leveling of the abilities
So
here?
the thing is, the difference between the level 2 Groggy Strike versus the level 2 Throwback, they both do the same damage at 140 anyway, but the Groggy Strike is so much easier to confirm, and you're getting a difference of 3 seconds on the cooldown between 13 and 10.
Cooldown, I'll buy. I don't know if it's easier to confirm the world's longest windup as opposed to the quick belly bump.
Well, as long as you don't get disrupted, right? Nice steal.
Nice job there, homie.
The thing is, like, you might not be in range all the time to find the one, and that second ability, man, that Groggy Strike is going to be able to really force a lot of purification bead. So you might as well at least get the damage off guaranteed. And you don't want to use your escape always for the damage. So that way, as long as you're leveling up the Groggy Strike, you're still dealing in damage, and now you're holding on your throwback for the escape.
fineokay gets hit with another waxing moon, and Benji certainly letting it burn here at both ends. fineokay, a little bit of trouble. As the Chang'e, quite the opposite. Building this Warlock staff is going to give her a little bit of HP, but perhaps more importantly, the power. Because the power certainly can come out of this selection. Scream going to force out the ultimate on a fineokay. And all of a sudden, this Guan Yu does not seem to be in the driver's seat.
fineokay was worried about the Typhoon that Scream could have potentially rolled out afterwards, so he wanted to prevent that knockup with the cavalry charge this time around, though. The pull is good, and Typhoon will come out.
But here's help from Hurriwind. Scream takes care of fineokay, and honestly, puts Hurriwind down a half HP. Chang'e puts him down to about 2/3 or 1/3 rather.
Meditation, so good for not only Benji by himself, but allowing Scream to still look for the ganks in the lane, and despite being so low from the counter rotation out of Hurriwind, can still fight into it and look for the blue buff steal. Normally it's Chang'es that get blue buff invaded, not the warrior, but when it's going to be the Guan Yu that got solo killed, you're going to be looking for those invades. And fineokay really struggling, unfortunately, with a 3-level deficit, working on his Genji's guard, trying to get that crazy big boost of magical defense alongside the cooldown reduction and 40 MP5.
Chang'e in her own right, no slouch when it comes to farming the jungle. She's got a number of abilities. She's got multiple abilities to confirm the clear right? She can 1 and then 3. But we're looking at 1 and then 3. 3 members of CLG surrounding the lone PandaCat. Chooses to go backwards, but the ultimate from the Hunter are going to be good enough. PolarBearMike rotates a little bit too late. But the rest of eUnited in the wings. Venenu, he's here, but not going to be able to hard commit. So eUnited come up a little bit short in that exchange as their Hunter falls down.
There might have been a small window to abuse Homie there with the epic uppercut with Venenu right around the corner. Could have channeled his final judgment, but instead eUnited slowing the pace in the dual lane, not slowing down in the solo lane, however. Benji still abusing fineokay's level disparity, and that's the one thing you can have going between this kind of difference, as Guan Yu doesn't max out the heal primarily, so he can't keep up with the Chang'e sustain.
Whereas Chang'e, who is certainly not leveling her heal, she's leveling the Crescent Moon, but the damage, but the heal that she does have is also going to do damage to the minions. So she's working sort of double time when she's able to use that third ability. When you're talking about, and she doesn't have to invest points into the ultimate either, which Guan Yu usually does because of how much damage it brings.
And not only that, Guan Yu is so difficult to confirm a lot of damage onto Chang'e once you use your invulnerability. Being able to absorb some of those ticks. You're not going to absorb all 10 ticks. You're going to absorb about maybe 3 to 4 and get some mana back after every single damage source.
Well, PandaCat worrying about CLG as a whole here on the left-hand side, but the right side is all eUnited. Side note, fineokay leveling that ult above the ultimate, or the heal above the ultimate, which is likely the right plan, but 2 different sides of the map, 2 different teams in charge. All Benji, all eUnited on the right, and all dual lane CLG on the left.
Venenu gonna get pulled, but he uses the B to prevent the Wrath of Terror. 4 members from CLG grouped up. Homiefe actually gonna commit to this because he has 3 members around him.
Wonderful commitment from CLG jungler there. Homiefe just knew he could take it on the chin and just go for it. Takes the forward punch and deals one right back. Great heads-up play from Hurriwind. But that's the type of synergy that you're looking for out of your jungle mid laner. Ultimate trust. H&H here coming through on top.
And honestly, that death from Venenu is probably necessary to prevent CLG from getting a Gold Fury. If Homie wasn't that low, I think CLG just hard commit, trying to bait Venenu out anyway, put him in a sticky spot, and eUnited getting strength in the solo lane out of Benji, but showing some holes and weaknesses between their backline carries, Venenu and PandaCat, struggling early, which can allow Snoopy and Hurriwind a lot of freedom to get this momentum to start grouping up as a team and look for some early Gold Furies.
10.5 minutes in certainly is early, but eUnited starting up. Try to get the bird worm. How does that one go? Early worm gets the bird. Early.
Hey, if you see a worm eating a bird, you let me know, because we can make a lot of money with it on a YouTube video with that.
Well, either way, Venenu going to be the early bird here because his squad certainly lifting themselves up nice and early. About 2,000 gold in the lead as the red, white, and blue as they try to continue their push here versus CLG, who certainly have been no slouches. That said, they did drop a game last week to Trifecta. Hurriwind going to get both his relics chased out, the ultimate as well, and he's going to find himself right in the middle. PolarBearMike and Venenu.
All the angles were covered, had nowhere to go. Maybe if he went north, that could have been the best option. Did not respect the potential eUnited members down south as they are grouped up a little bit towards this tier 1 mid tower, thinking about posturing for a red buff invade, but that's not going to be up for another 30 seconds. And Benji still getting the player damage onto fineokay, but this is where things are going to start slowly going back to fineokay, where he's just chilling and farming. We have the Genji's guard available for the heals, but it becomes more difficult when Scream's right here.
Well, there he's going to show up. fineokay knocked up, and that's it. Not knocked down.
Unfortunately for Scream, Benji was still farming the wave. If he was a little bit closer for the follow-up, that would have been a guaranteed kill, but trading ultimate for ultimate still gives more leeway for Benji to be hyper-aggressive.
Also, something that we sort of kind of in passing mentioned is the fact that Chang'e doesn't have to go back to base ever. That's true. She just got the bunny rabbit. And so between the blue buff of meditation and a health chalice, totally, I mean, Benji's backed I think once or twice. I haven't exactly been staring at him, but he just really hasn't had to back. So this real 3-level lead here is usually a 2 to 1.5 level lead for more traditional solo laners, but because he's getting every ounce of experience on the map, because of that passive, he has an even larger lead than he used to before.
That's why he's investing in this Warlock staff already. Over halfway complete.
Ribbit.
53 now. So getting the Lotus Crown just to be able to synergize a little bit more is the way you want to do in team fights. It's about to break out any minute now. It's a 3-3. A lot of an even scoreline there, but not so even in the gold or experience department because of the 2 solo lanes. Outside of that, things are pretty even.
Man, I haven't seen a Guan Yu this shut down since you played against it in China. Zimstar couldn't do a damn thing versus you, Tolly.
Oh. That was a hot minute ago. Yeah.
You should have seen Tolly's face. He was like, what are you talking about?
I thought you were going to go even more back to like the Wolfie days, but no, not there. Homiefe, though, this time around, PBM right around the corner, but didn't need the help. PandaCat able to find Homie.
Just fought right into it correctly as well. Made sure just to do all of the ability damage and then find the follow-up with the Viper shot.
And that's the problem with the Erlang Shen jungle. You do have that heal and sustain, but it takes 4 seconds to come out. It's not the easiest thing to time in the world, and without any sort of physical defense, boxing into a level 11 Medusa that didn't have critical strike at the time, only had those Devil Gloves and Ninja Tabai boots with Hunter's Blessing involved, was all the sustain he needed to just buy himself a moment.
Recently we've seen, I'm not going to say a lot of, 6-7 weeks ago, Homiefe played Vamana jungle. And then earlier today we saw Ice Ice Baby play Vamana jungle. I feel like the Vamana jungle is very similar to the Erlang Shen jungle in that you're looking to capitalize off of the knock-up early, right? But the problem is, early game for Vamana, mid game for Vamana, you have the knock-up and then the burst combo, and Erlang Shen lacks that. So really what the Erlang Shen does, he's going to do the same knock-up, but expect his teammates to do some of the damage, as well as to taunt a little bit later. But doing that early winds up killing you like we just saw. So this early to mid game for the Erlang Shen jungle, which again, I don't heavily dislike, I just think that he can't be making the plays that he's trying to make right now.
He needs to isolate targets in certain team fights, but he's not at that true power spike play with the items. He's working on the katana. Not sure what he's going to build into. There's a lot of options, a lot of flexibility with the way Erlang Shens can go. You can go stone cutting very easily if you want to reduce a lot of that physical power, and that wouldn't be a bad option if he's looking for more 1v1s against PandaCat.
Benji one more time. Gonna pick up the enemy blue buff and not a care in the world for this Moonlight Dancer. Across the way, talking about Homiefe here, I would like to see the Masamune. I think the as little as 100 health is, I think it will make a difference. And as the Erlang Shen looking to knock up the entire team fight, I really think the Masamune is the correct way to go here. Stone Cutting Sword, sure, might be an option.
It might be an option. Masamune would give him that 35 protections if he's surrounded by all five eUnited members. He definitely needs more health with that build because you can't have only protections if you're looking to be that backline penetrator.
Gold Fury being penetrated right now, 10% on it. There's the ultimate. eUnited take it despite Hurriwind's best efforts. Cut down about half HP is the mid lane Janus. And eUnited grabbed the Gold Fury, the red buff, and then some. You can see that little bunny rabbit running towards Chang'e to deliver another item. Benji doesn't even have to back. Level 17 for the solo lane Chang'e.
eUnited rolling the dice around the Gold Fury and coming out clean with that one. Not able to aggress was CLG because of the beautiful stunts coming out of Venenu and all the follow-up damage. fineokay sees what eUnited are up to, but PBM is keeping Jigz busy.
Yep. Pyromancer going to be leashed as soon as fineokay gets on the horse, and nothing he can do about that one. Just looks in the rear view. Hurriwind helps out. And eUnited claim another objective.
Close enough to steal that one. It was about 1, maybe 2% health. Hurriwind with his best intentions. Homiefe, though, right around the corner, helping Snoopy get the tier 1 tower confirmed as PandaCat forced to relinquish that 500 gold. Not the end of the world for CLG at this point. 5,000 gold looks pretty bad, But honestly, the team fight potential from CLG to reposition themselves with Hurriwind's ultimate is what they have to rely on. But this is the one factor on your screen. It's Benji that could make it more difficult than it should be.
Yeah, Benji has been an absolute terror in lane. How does this character translate into the team fight is a different story, but at the end of the day, I mean, watching Benji pilot this god has been a pleasure. Just crushing it here. And then when it comes down to it, totally, the new map has enabled a number of different characters. We saw New Y at the beginning of the season, and I think that that had a lot to do with the fact that these corridors that Benji's walking down, you stick the minions in there, and you just can't walk there, right? True. Poseidon has seen a resurgence because his ability to zone is that much better with the smaller entranceways. And I think Chang'e also that mentality. Don't forget, you get a 1-second stun when you get hit by Waxing Moon. But if you hit 2 people, it's a 2-second. 3 people, 4 people, 5 people, and when you're all walking down that Janus hallway, guess who's waiting with the frisbee?
Yep. I feel really bad for that 5th person to absorb that one, but the first one...
You just sit all day.
It's Jigz blinking in, knocks up 3. Scream taking a lot of damage and actually gets stunned before it gets pulled back in, forced to use the Aegis. He's going to be the first victim, but not until fineokay gets returned.
PandaCat also going to look good, taking down fineokay. Without the jungler, eUnited still feeling pretty. Tier 1 tower goes down. Homiefe stunned out. Going to live to see another day so far. But Benji heals the squad up, and boy, and Lotus Crown, such a big deal on the Chang'e.
It's working out for eUnited because not only do they have the healing, but Chang'e's anti-healing, that 50% alone, not even required for the Divine Ruin, is just so impactful. You were mentioning, you know, Chang'e could be really strong in laning phase. How does she transition in team fights? Bang. Even better than the laning phase. Working out, team fight recap on your screen.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful just presentation from this Chang'e. And one thing that I really like on top of everything is the build. You hear me ad nauseum talk about these healers and how I want to see them built. Well, power. PolarBearMike feeling the bad end of the power on the side of CLG.
The jukes. Oh my goodness. PBM with his juke shoes. Oh, the stun! Hurriwind, where are you at? Too aggressive.
Oh, PandaCat. Little Max letting them know what's up with the VETTTGGG.
Venenu, man.
Gotta love it.
The timing on that stun, immediately after the portal.
Just waiting for it. He had it. He was just waiting there. Yeah. He was just waiting there. He was just waiting there. And then?
Even if they kill PBM.
Who cares?
Hurriwind is still dead after that.
Yes. Yes.
That support for mid laner, not worth.
That was a rough play. That was a rough play. That was definitely a rough play. I was like George Hill missing the free throw. Little bonehead play there. Either way.
I don't know who that is. I'm sorry. I only know esports. Who's this George Hill?
He's never mind. Anyway, PandaCat there coming up big with the taunts. Even though his teammate might have did the stun, PandaCat got the taunt. I respect that.
Fire Giant being looked at by eUnited. Janus ultimate being used by Hurriwind. Very low. No one from CLG here to contest. eUnited, 21 minutes in, looking very solid now with this 9,000 goal lead that's only going to get bigger once these 3 remaining CLG towers get stripped away.
Yeah. CLG trying to play through their Janus. Not going to happen here. Only 4 kills. Well, only 6 across the way, totally, but the objectives have been all eUnited. 1 Fire Giant, 2 Gold Furies. Now there's been 2 Gold Furies. And all of them belong to eUnited. About a 10,500 gold lead for the Jeskai Warriors. And eUnited heading up here on the left-hand side, looking for the tier 1 tower. And down we'll go.
There's no contest from CLG. They can't really defend this. That's why they're looking for the split push, stripping away farm, taking away the speed buff even from eUnited.
That's the right call. They're doing what there is very little that CLG can do in this situation, and they are doing the little bit that they can. With that said, Toli, they have to defend the Phoenix.
They need to try at the very least. Snoopy making the rotation back from the fountain. Finally making it stand, but that Phoenix is on its last legs.
Beautiful ultimate from Jigz, and the portal opening up could be a nice section for CLG to find the flank through. Scream exits down south. PandaCat sends fineokay out the hard way. Phoenix still stands with about a quarter of life left.
But they have all the sustain they need between the meditation, between the fire giant, and the Chang'e heals. And without fineokay sustain, they're only relying on Jigz Sylvanus, which isn't the most valuable in the world. eUnited walking away very healthy after that first Phoenix.
Yeah, just nothing to really complain about here for eUnited. The healing, 12-6. I like that number because it's not completely insane. I think 12,000 healing is, this is kind of what I was talking about, where 12,000 healing is certainly relevant, totally, but it's not this complete blowout of a number. Had CLG played ball, they could have dealt with that healing.
Sure.
But for whatever other reason, eUnited just blowing them out of the water.
The problem is CLG doesn't have reliable anti-healing. They have Divine Ruin on Hurriwind, but that's not reliable anti-healing. They need a Pestilence on somebody. Trying to see it across the board. Nobody went for it. No frontliner. Jigz and fineokay elected for different options.
Also, no cursed Ankh either. Let's look at the itemization that we do see on CLG. The Thorns and the meditation for fineokay. I love the meditation. We'll return to the Thorns. Blink and beads for Homiefe. Sure, I think both are necessary. Mid lane we've touched. Support.
He needs to engage with a blink.
Yep.
But if you know you're behind at level 12, the blink, you might as well realize, like, okay, Chang'e is a big issue here. You need to find ways to shut him down.
You can use Homiefe's blink engage just as well.
Somebody needs to peel.
Yeah, I would like to see that cursed Ankh. Divine Ruin on Sylvanus. What's your take?
It's different, but it would be more reliable than Hurriwind having Divine Ruin. It's very off the wall.
We've seen some pro league teams do that because of the way Wisps work.
It's creative, yes. The Wisps last a long time, and the damage over time applies the debuff duration longer. But the problem is, now you're lacking defensive stats.
Yeah. Right side Phoenix, the focus for eUnited. Jig certainly needs those defensive stats. Benji takes him down nice and early in the team fight. Ultimates is still available for 2 members of eUnited, 3 members of CLG. But I think the Kumbhakarna ultimate is certainly important. So is the main.
Goodness.
Cuts down Snoopy, cuts down fineokay, exposes the weakness of the Phoenix. And eUnited are going to slink like rogues into the mid lane.
15 seconds still on Jigz. Not going to try to go for that middle Phoenix without minions. Very methodical as eUnited. Would rather wait 40 seconds for this fire giant buff to respawn instead.
This becomes scary. Every time you see a team that has a great lead in the early 20s, talking about the minutes, the early 20 minutes portions of the game, and you see them repeatedly back off and give every single back off is a moment for CLG to collect themselves, breathe in and breathe out. Here, you are so far ahead that I think that it's a drop in the pail for CLG. But for teams that are watching this, fans at home that have their amateur teams getting ready for that lower league that we've seen advertised, players that are trying to realize that this sort of play is giving your opponents an opportunity to get back into it. When you're ahead 20K, do what you want. But if this is a different lead, I think if this is a shorter lead, Anatoly, I think we see eUnited push into the tight.
Possibly, honestly, but it would be more difficult without Venenu's ultimate, but taking the safer approach. I like the way their style has been, really relying on this backline range out of Venenu. That was first picked. It was working out well for them against Space Station, working out well for them here in this first game. And if I'm CLG, I'm looking at this off and I'm worried.
I'm looking at the Chang'e, baby. Chang'e has got me excited. I love this build. I love this build, Anatoly. This build is both power-oriented and utilitarian. You got the Warlock staff to say, listen, don't look at me. You got the next side of the Lotus Crown to say, look, I'm going to be healing myself and my homies. That's where I'm getting some fake 20 protections from. Great, sure. I guess I do need to deal with some of the riffraff. I'll go a straight defensive item in the Midgardian Mail. P.S. It's honed specifically for the in-game composition. Rounded out with a Rodimus Asclepius and a Pythagorean piece. Plenty of power tower for me, but it helps my teammates as well. Love it, baby.
The only utility item that he's missing is really Gem of Isolation, but the Erlang Shen and Snoopy on the Jing way, you need that anti-attack speed. I like the Merguardian mail. PBM taking the middle Phoenix for the rest of eUnited to try to get the last remaining Phoenix.
Jigz grabs a whole bunch of players with the Wrath of Terra. Homiefe and Hurriwind cut on through. Homiefe outside of the conversation. Snoopy chased out of it. Venenu bringing the pain from a distance as well as front up. Beautiful stuff from Venenu, who has become one of the most dominant mid laners in the entire world.
It's time to disallow any more thoughts out of him. eUnited securing themselves the first victory after the deicide 28 minutes in.
Just hands down impressive stuff from eUnited. The conversation when we watched Trifecta beat up CLG was, Trifecta stepped up, but, the conversation about CLG taking a step down. Here we see United again. They look strong. Is the conversation about CLG taking a step down, though?
It's not necessarily about them taking a step down. It's that they got outdrafted. You can't give the Thoth for Venenu. Now, Benji on the Chang'e needs to be exploited with an aggressive solo laner and an aggressive jungler to not allow the way he transitioned in those team fights. If a Chang'e has a 3 to 4 level lead, something went drastically wrong. It was the solo kill that happened for the first blood.
Also, at the end of the day, just not a fan of the Erlang Shen jungle. I don't think it really came to fruition.
Different style, made an impact in the early laning phase in the dual lane, but afterwards, when PandaCat held his own and found the return kill, that's when the jungle Erlang Shen for Homiefe just didn't work out any longer.
MVP, if I'm in Mixer chat, I'm slamming the Benji button. I think that the solo lane prowess really brought himself. I think the solo lane lead brought itself to the team fight. I think that a lot of times you see the solo laners get crazy big leads and it doesn't always translate to the rest of the squad. I think this is a fine example of totally a solo laner getting a lead, doing it right, making the transition.
Whether it's Chang'e, Ra, or Aphrodite, Benji might play it all. We'll see what he does in game number 2.
Beautiful stuff here in game number 1. Let's break it down.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Toli. Finch and Aggro here after a strong first game from eUnited. And Aggro, the first 2 picks were the Thoth and Chang'e, and then who went off but the Thoth Chang'e?
Thoth Chang'e, PBM played very well with the Kumbhakarna, and of course PandaCat with the Medusa. Scream as well as Susano. Yeah, they all played well. But you're
That's
right.
fair.
Those are the 2 that really stood out. I think Toli nailed it there. When a Chang'e is 3 or 4 levels ahead, something went wrong. And that is what went wrong there for CLG. They didn't put enough pressure onto that solo lane. Guan Yu is great in the late game team fights. He's not your prototypical pressure warrior in that solo lane. And Benji and the Chang'e pick exploited that beautifully.
Well, that's what comes down to what you heard Tom mentioning there is the Erlang jungle, right? That's who you're kind of looking to put pressure on this Chang'e, is have the jungler rotate over along with your solo and get some pressure on him, and they just couldn't get it. But in the end, that Chang'e, or rather the pilot of it, Benji, is who you all have selected as your MVP there in Mixer chat. I appreciate you all for voting for us, and I think y'all got this one correct. Benji just got ahead and never let up.
He really did, and this is the moment, right, where fineokay has him basically dead to rights, almost finds it. If Finus doesn't take that tower shot, he's fine, and it has pressure on that lane. If blue buff is spawning soon, then CLG can start getting that pressure. It's the micro spacing there, just got a little bit caught up in the midst of that, in that tower, trying to find the solo kill, and it really cost him.
And that's one thing too, to die to your direct lane opponent like that and give over that farm is one thing, but then you got to come over and slow them down afterwards, even if you let that one misplay happen in lane. And it really was just that close, wasn't it? fineokay, it looked like he was definitely going to be able to find that kill, but steps a little bit too far, and perfect punish by Benji.
Yeah, it's just taking advantage of your opponent's mistakes, and you force them into spots where they can make mistakes like that. If Benji doesn't pick up meditation and use it at that moment, he probably dies before that ever happens. It's holding the 2 to make sure that you're not getting hit by the entirety of Talu Assault to bait fineokay deeper into your side of the map. It's the little things that Benji was able to do to force that kill.
And this is a double sustained comp, right? With the Sylvanus, the Guan Yu. I mean, how come this never gets off the ground? Is it just that the Chang'e was ahead, or what did eUnited do so well to slow down CLG?
Because they had sustain on their side too. The Chang'e sustain was nullifying that sustain on the side of CLG. So when both sides have sustain, it's kind of like neither one really does, right? Because both teams are trying to play around the exact same
Or maybe
style.
the leader has way more.
Well, right. In that case, then it ends up being the leader gets better benefit of it. It's easier for Thoth to apply Divine Ruin than it is for a Janus.
Yeah.
You've got the Divine Ruin, the anti-heal on the Moonflower Dance as is. eUnited was just better equipped to deal with healers than CLG was.
Well, great.